Hello my dear friends, this is a PaintyKat. My name is Catherine. Welcome on my tutorial. We're going to paint landscape with tree in heart shape. I will use water today, but be sure you're not adding it too much because we don't need running to watery consistency of acrylic. So let's start. This painting today based on art of Kevin Hill, and this is tutorial by request from my subscribers. We will learn tips and tricks about how to follow video tutorials and how to get result close to what we really want. Original painting by Kevin Hill you can find on my Patreon also, because you have to see what we have as a base today. About color mixing, I have as a starting colors, it's a titanium white, it's a cobalt blue and black. So these colors usually we have in a trial kits of acrylic. So if you're just learning how to paint with acrylic, you usually have these colors in acrylic painting set. And this is a moment number one. When we want to follow tutorials, we usually have titles of color or numbers of color that artist used. Information about it usually possible to find in a description box, but issue is sometimes we have no these colors. For example, some artists they prefer to use ultramarine for sky, but maybe in our trial acrylic kit no ultramarine. So we have to change colors and pick those that we have, but they closest to those we need. This is a moment number one. Nothing wrong with it, but we have to try follow same shade, I mean amount of white and black in a color. Color, for example, this cobalt blue can be really saturated, bright, and can be more rainy. Imagine we want to create a sky after the rain, when raining clouds already going away and we can see small piece of really blue sky. So I started with a really clear sky color with just cobalt blue and white, and later when a sky color was already there, I put a small amount of black in the mix and I got shade less saturated, it's closer to rain clouds. Another moment, try to use similar techniques. For example, Kevin Hill used blending with a dry brush. He was painting with oil, but even with acrylic possible to use the same technique. Look, with my dry brush, and important, I'm cleaning my brush after each small time of work. I'm blending a bit, cleaning brush and blending again. Each time you see my hand going out of the camera means I'm cleaning my brush. Blending, same technique that we has in a tutorial, giving us same look, more blended, more soft. Even if we have no proper colors, doesn't mean we can't use proper technique. Be careful with it and try to choose what you can take from tutorial and what you can replace. Colors, yes, we change, but technique, if we want to get similar result in the end, we have to follow same techniques. Another important moment, it's a choice of materials. Original, it was oil, and you can see painting. It was done with oil. Personally, I don't like to paint with oil at home because my family don't really like smell of liquids. So my choice, it's acrylic, have no smell, really love it. And also I like ability of acrylic to be very transparent with water. So I can use it as oil, similar to oil and similar to watercolor same time. That means I don't need to have different materials. I can use just acrylic and that's it. Right now you can see I can form clouds better, I can shape them, I can give them more volume with light, for example. Important moment, again, acrylic have to be not runny, it's have to be half dry. Try to put small amount. If you have to, you can remove extra water from your brush by putting your brush on a napkin. Napkin will take extra water from the brush. After you can get more paint from your palette and put it on your canvas or paper. So another moment, third one, let's say, it's a surface, our working surface, and right now it's a paper. I choose it because I think paper for beginners have more affordable price, and we have paper textured as a canvas. So if you wanna learn but you don't want to waste canvases for learning process, it's possible to learn the same technique and material on a paper. We have Daler-Rowney, we have Hahnemuhle, and I already demonstrated this kind of paper before. And this kind of paper possible to use with oil also. It's have a special finish on it, so we can use acrylic, watercolor and oil just on a paper. As I said, texture of it similar to canvas, so all techniques possible to use and learn here. And again, price much affordable. And when you feel yourself ready for the painting on a canvas, yes, the final result you can create on a canvas. Personally, I also like final result on a paper, and I like how it's possible to frame. I like to frame it with a passepartout, and I really love how it fits interior. Right now I think I finished sky and clouds. You can see right now what technique, what dry brushing giving to us. Soft cloudy sky, awesome effect. We can use layering, so control value of clouds, create light and shadows more, and blend on top again with a dry and good clean brush. This is important moment. So color can be different, but technique same, and also we can play around working surface. Let's go further, and another important moment, it's detailing. Detailing depends from the size. So when we looking at picture in internet and we like it, we wanna try it, repeat it, we usually not thinking about size of original art. Sometimes it can be really big, especially I'm talking about hyper-realism paintings. Usually they are really huge. Let me tell you about process right now. I'm creating hills. They are really far. Later I will talk again about moments for following tutorials, but right now I want to talk about process on my paper. So look here again, no extra water. Also we have to remember about air perspective. If those mountains really far from us, they have to be lighter and lighter. If they're going closer to us, means we can see already some color on it, for example green, not just gray, bluish and white. And also objects closer to us have more contrast. So on the left side I will have area closer to me, and on the right side there is mountains really far. Also edge have to be a bit darker, and when mountain going down it have to be a bit lighter, because usually there is a fog down there on the forest or really close to the ground. You can see right now, and I believe feel consistency of acrylic I'm painting right now. I'm like more, you know, scratching with half dry brush. Consistency, not liquid. Look, I put small amount of acrylic from the tube, but I'm not adding water in a mix at all. I like to work with a small fresh with a small amount of acrylic on a palette, but it have to stay fresh. I don't like to have a huge amount of acrylic because it's drying on palette and I have to add water to prevent it. Small portions, always staying fresh. I can use it really fast, and my tube's always here, so why I need to add a lot on palette, right? Just a small amount I need right now for working process. On the left side I have mountains closer to me, so you can already see small amount of green on it. As a green color here I picked up green medium. Usually also this color we have in trial sets of acrylic, and also it's ochre. About ochre, mine it's ochre light, but it can be golden as well and can be dark. You just have to control darkness and saturation of ochre with white and black. So light, gold or dark doesn't matter for beginners. We just have to use small amount of, let's say, brown pigment, because I wanna repeat feeling from Kevin Hill, landscape with a spring feeling. Early spring usually have no green fresh grass. It's usually grass from the previous season, from the autumn. So grass will look not saturated, not too fresh. It can have some yellow patches on it. And also important moment here, it's a brush I'm using right now. It's a brush with a long bristle, and bristle have edge half around it. Long bristle brush giving us ability to work to paint with a really good amount of acrylic. So my brush strokes can be really long. Also important moment right now, I will start from the area closer to me, and as soon as I'm going on the right side far from me, of course my brush running out of the paint, so brush strokes will be lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. So this technique giving me effect, air perspective with no any special effort. It's going naturally because I'm just running out of color, that's it. So from the start my brush strokes more saturated, have lots of paint on a brush, and I will start from the foreground and going to the background this way. all the time on a middle ground right now, I will use the same technique. Also, we can use small amount of white. We can add white step by step. We're starting from really contrasted saturated color, and when we're going on a background, we're adding small amount of white again and again and again. So far we go, more white color we getting. Also, I told you ochre giving us not a green grass but look of previous year grass, previous season grass. Not watery consistency, and also I'm spreading gentle, spreading colors gentle. Look, I'm trying not just over mix colors on my paper, but painting more patchy, because it's giving us light spots on a grass. Also, with brush we got really nice edge of bushes and plants on a middle ground. We can detail it a little bit, and I will use natural Bristol brush for it. Light direction here from left to the right, same as original painting have. So we have to analyze from where we have a light on original art and follow the same direction. We going brush stroke by brush stroke, again not watery consistency and not really contrasted detailing right now. It's still not a foreground, so we can't give much of detailing here. It will take really too much attention. If we do nice detailing right now, it can be too catchy later. Contrast, saturation colors, all those we keeping for foreground. Don't try to hurry up, you know, really take your time. Also important to remember when we're following tutorials, for example mine right now, that's mean you're watching video, but video always have parts that was cutted because it was too boring to watch. For example, cleaning my brush, changing my water, when I'm looking for some brush and I can't find it right now, and I can spend like 10 minutes looking for proper brush or color I need. All those boring time I have to cut, and yes, you have to keep it in mind. Usually if you're painting, you have the same, you have to pick fresh napkin, you have sometimes clean your hands. So timing of tutorials, video tutorials, they are lying about real time you have to spend for painting. And when we remember about it, timing have no pressure on us. Means sometimes I have a question from subscriber. I saw your video, it was 2 hours, but I spent 6 hours. That's mean I have no experience in a painting. I'm painting too slow. No, only final result matter. All others not important. We all have a different speed. I mean, some of us really can paint in one go, but me, for example, I have family, I have 2 kids, I have family needs, and sometimes I have to take long breaks. That's why one of my tutorials there we're talking how to plan work and how to split it on steps, smart, to have ability to get back into your work really easy. Sometimes it can be not so easy because we're losing mood for painting. Yes, we have to catch it first and after it's going better. Same as we have in gymnastics. Usually we need to spend 10 minutes warm up a little bit and after process going much better. If we will do gymnastics without warming up, we can get some issues with the health, isn't it? Painting the same, but instead of issue with the house, we'll get issue with the painting. So be smart, plan your time. If you have to get a break later, you have to plan time to warm up a little bit. Usually, as for me, for warming up my hands, I like to blend colors on palette a little bit longer than I usually do. I like to try mixes and shades on a paper, not straight on a canvas on my painting. No, I can take just a piece of paper and try it there. It's giving me time to switch in a process again and after painting going smooth again. We almost completed middle ground. I want to put some patches of light on a grass and I will blend a little bit with the fingers. Same technique, finger blending, possible to use with oil also. And as I saw, Kevin Hill also like to use. Don't blend it too well. Please leave this patchy effect looking really alive. About color mixing here, for patches of light I used ochre, maybe big amount of green and white and a black. Color have to be not saturated, really soft. And the new color I'm using right now, it's a burnt umber. We have to plan road on a foreground, same as Kevin Hill did. By the way, on my Patreon, of course, you can find a link on Kevin Hill tutorial. It's a short, really short video, about 15 minutes. So just the basic moments possible to see there. About road, remember light direction. So we will have shadows going from left to the right. I created big brush strokes. Not blended, nothing special, just created some of shadow spots. But from the right side to the left, I'm painting with a light shade. I mixed umber burn plus ochre light and white, going opposite direction, and somewhere in the middle my light colors meeting shadow colors. No extra water, again we painting similar to the oil techniques. It will be possible to correct color later, especially because we will add other details as falling petals from the blooming tree. Right now we got a road, at least it's visible. We don't have to paint with a final quality right now. We can work better on the detailing later when all objects will be already visible and well planned, will be already on a painting. So don't try to get final detailization right now. we going bottom up approach and the shadows here. Size of our painting most important for detailing. If you have just a photo of painting and you wanna create similar painting by yourself, you have to analyze what size it was, and if painting you have in front of you close to hyper-realism, means it's really huge. It's not possible to get high amount of detailization close to photo if size small. I choose A4 size and it's much smaller than original art. It's mean I will have to skip some details on the foreground. It will be not possible to paint. If I will paint some tiny flowers, I will want to paint some tiny flowers I had on original art. They will look too grossly because proportions will be wrong. Tiny flowers needs tiny tools, but tiniest brush I have, it's 00. I can't paint with just a piece of hair, you know. So if we painting with brush 00 on a size meter and meter, that's mean we're getting really high amount of detailization. If we will try to repeat same result on a smaller size like 20 centimeters, it will be not possible to paint at all. So be smart. If you want to follow some photo or a painting you have in front of you on a monitor, for example, you on a screen, right? You have to analyze sizing and you have to skip some tiny details if you're going for really smaller, much smaller size. Again, especially it's important when we following photo references or we following hyperrealism painting as a reference art object. Well, on the left side right now I created groups of plants and a grass. It's kind of dark because here I need a good amount of contrast. Again, it's close to us, so contrast can be really well visible. On the right side I will add plants later. Let's detail plants on the left side right now, and yes, here we can go for much brighter shades. I will not blend colors here, and right now I'm following those steps what possible to see at Kevin Hill video. Even if my brush really small, it's a natural Bristol brush, smallest I have in this set. Brush strokes looking so big, isn't it? So I need to be kind of careful. I have not to blend, but just touch paper with my brush. And what I like about paper with the canvas texture getting visible if we stamping with a brush, looking really close to canvas look. I will add plants and a grass on the right side. Again, I'm running out of some color and it's a green medium. I added a tiny bit again, mixing fresh shade, and let's go. My brush strokes short because they trying to create grass one by one. This way grass looking really random. Of course, we have parks as French gardens and parks. For example, there grass trimmed and it's looking regular, really short. Those kind of grass possible to paint with natural Bristol brushes with a stamping. But if we painting wild grass and plants, we have to go with the random shapes, and we will try to go with the random brush strokes. Also, I will plan right now, just planning grass on the right side and blending a little bit, still consistency, not too watery. I'm blending gently, blending into the color of road, but I'm not trying to blend really well. It's not possible right now because layer of acrylic on a road already dry, I believe, so it's possible to touch with the green on top of brown, but not really blend too. Also, I like this technique because it's giving a more visible look to texture of canvas on a paper. You can see right now I'm not going for detailing look, it's just a spots and patches of color. They are not blended, it's like a visible spot of ochre light, visible spot of dark green, means it's a mix of black and green. Also, I'm running out of burnt umber, let me add a little bit more. And also right now I changed my brush, means I'm gonna paint another detail. I have to plant tree, same as Kevin Hill have on his painting. This direction, not really straight, you know, but also not too curvy. Color, I have to think about it right now because color have to be not too dark, not too contrasted, because probably later I will fix shape of twigs and branches a little bit. And also I have to remember, on top of the branches and twigs I will put pink color because we will create blooming tree. I have in mind to create not exactly Kevin Hill painting, so I will play around some details, and in the center I will create heart-shaped tree. Oh well, because you know, I'm in a mood for Saint Valentine Day, and why not? We already have Kevin Hill painting done, right? We can change something. That's also what I just love about following tutorial. You already have result, artist already demonstrated to you, and you can decide by yourself what details you want to take from there, but what details you want to create following your imagination. We know learning technique when we have to copy artwork. For example, if you wanna learn glazing technique from Netherlands artists, you have to copy all process, all materials, use the same surface, use the same brushes, time for drying, everything have matter. But if you're following just the final result, so you wanna get main idea, you don't have to copy all stages, all steps. You just wanna pick what you like to follow, and what you don't, you can change on your own taste. So here, yes, I'm gonna paint heart-shaped tree. It's, by the way, kind of popular for greeting cards for Valentine's Day, and it's easy to create. You know, it's like filling yourself as a French garden. Imagine you will trim a real tree and shape it as a heart. So here in the center of landscape, we're planning 2 trees. First, it's a thick trunk going from the left side to the right side, and thinner trunk going opposite way, V-shape, let's say. Another tree near to first one, more thin, but going same direction, because I don't want to ruin the central element, heart-shaped tree. I have in mind, I want to create close to pink one, I want to create a little bit of green, because in my opinion, just pink tree in the center can look a little bit strange, because why it's there, it's not connected to another greens. So I like to mix it with a little bit of green. Well, again, I already saw final result of a tutorial I want to follow, so I want to decide by myself what I like and what I want to change. Same as you, my dear friends. Trust me, I'm always so happy to see your own ideas, your own elements in paintings created following my tutorials. That means you spend time to think what you like in the final result. You created elements and you used techniques you learned. It really means a lot for me and giving me inspiration for my future tutorials. Sometimes ideas, details you creating from your imagination, you are adding by yourself. It's so beautiful, so awesome, and I really like to see it, really like. So when we following tutorials, we have to remember we don't need to copy exactly everything, but we taking those elements, ideas and techniques we like. I will use right now, I choose right now my line brush, very thin one. I'd say it's a thinnest in my collection right now. I have a 00 really tiny brushes, but they have no long bristle, so those brushes are not able to create so gentle and good looking tiny tweaks. Line brushes, even with a bigger size than mine right now, they really can, you know, they really can, especially when they have a nice pointy tip. If brush in a bigger size but it's have a good quality, pointy tip usually giving us really good looking curved gentle nice thin lines, so helpful with the trees and plants. So here I will follow the same composition as I have on original art. We have plants, let's say bush from the left side and a tree from the right side. First, also as with the tree, I will plan main shape. So here you can see bigger branches in a base and a smaller tiny twigs on top, and it's going somewhere inside of the dark plants on the foreground. I blend it a little bit with my fingers and that's it. Okay, I'm running out of black color right now, have to add it fresh. And let's imagine tree here. Look, I changed my brush. For trunks, usually good to use bigger brush. With a tiny line brush, we will need, way too much brush strokes to create trunks. So let's go for bigger size first, and as soon as we're going closer to tiny gentle tweaks, we're going for smaller brush. So size of detailing giving us advice: smaller detail, smaller brush, bigger detail, bigger brush. So we're switching, and it depends from the area we're working on. For backgrounds, for sky area, for example, big flat brush is just awesome. It's not possible to, well, it's possible maybe create sky and clouds with a line brush, for example. Well, maybe it's possible theoretically. I don't want to try it. So let's get back to our painting. Here we have a tree, and I want to plan shape of it. It's really tree, not a bush, because we have a good well visible trunk. Some tweaks, and we will correct it later, because on top of the layer of shape of tree, we will add really fresh, really young, light spring green leaves. As soon as it's a spring leaves, early ones, they just showed up, growing. It have to be very tiny. And here I will use my stamping brush. It was a brush from the start, from the set of natural Bristol brushes, but I was accidentally touching my camera with a long pole, so I removed it, and right now it's looking more as a stamp, more as a sponge. It's really just a normal natural Bristol brush, just a short one. I'm going gently, not trying to create good big visible stamp from my brush, and I'm not making strokes, not at all, just touching my paper, tap 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 tap. This way leaves looking so small, it's like just started to grow. And the color important here, because we start with dark shade. It's a mix of green and umber burnt. No black there. I don't like mix of black and green medium, but I like warm tone of green, so plus umber. Touching gently, and let's go on a left side. Repeat the same. I'm trying to turn my brush with a small angle to demonstrate to you how process going, because when I'm stamping normally with my right hand, as I usually do, process not always visible, because I have camera straight on top, and when I'm stamping with brush, I have to handle my brush vertically, means I'm covering brush with my hand. So you have to remember, if I'm covering my brush, means I'm holding it vertically, really. Let me get some fresh ochre light, and I will mix green, white, ochre, no water, and I even removing extra paint on a brush, and I'm going with the stamping, same technique. I'm going with a smaller size but same type of brush. It's a natural bristle but not a flat one. It's a round brush. Here depends where you're holding your brush. Is it a pole as I do right now? So yes, let's go like this. We're creating light on a young leaves, on a crown. Again, touching gently. Brush creating just a tiny spots, not a strokes really. Amount of acrylic small on my brush, so after each 5-6 touching I have to go back on my palette and I have to take more acrylic. Don't be in a hurry. And I told you on my previous tutorials we have to check our painting from the distance. If we going closer and closer to result, so we have to do it more often. Creating light like this, really soft light, not a warm one, it's a cold spring light, so green here also not too warm. Oh, look on a foreground, contrasted details looking really, really beautiful. But do not create too much details right now, as soon as we not have any detailing layer in a center yet, which is the most important moment, and also we have no detailing level on a left. So be careful with it. Also, I will create soft layer of young green grass on a light side, and I will go softly with the grass color. I will go softly on a road area. So it's not a blending, no. It's a soft transition color to color. I'm trying not to blend, but create so tiny, so thin layer of green that it's giving a feeling like it's blending a little bit. But you see, no blending at all, isn't it? On the foreground, I will add just a tiny bit of light spots. It can be some plants, can be some young leaves. But basically, it's just a random green spots, light spot on a dark layer we created before. So remember about contrast. For foreground, we have to create the most contrasted elements and details. We created darkest leaves right now. Next layer was a middle shade. I will complete it in a few seconds. Yeah, it's done, and now we just have to create a light. Please remember about light direction here. It's going from left to the right, and for light color, for light on young spring leaves, we mixing tiny amount of green. Basically, you know, colors the same, tiny amount of green, yellow ochre and white, but white here playing main role, because look, this shade more light and more shiny, so that's mean bit less amount of green than we used previously, but we have more ochre and more white. Please don't put light spots everywhere. Remember, if tree have a light from the left, that's mean left area of a crown will have spots of light on the left side, but on the right side we will have much less those patches of light. Also, as soon as it's early spring, we will have no darkest areas in a crown because leaves very tiny still. They just started to grow, so we have no deep shadows in the middle of the crown of tree. Also, I added a little bit, of spots on the grass. Maybe it's early little white flowers. It's not possible to paint flowers shape by shape, petals by petals, because really it's too tiny and we have small size of a paper right now, but we able to create a feeling of flowers there with just a natural Bristol brush. Right now I can feel a shape of this tree and plants on the right side, but still I'm missing a light on the left side there where we have a bush. Let me correct a little bit more, just a tiny bit. Try not to over detail tree, so it's important to step back a little bit, maybe 1 meter. It's just, it's a 2 steps, and from the distance you can understand if value of tree looking well. Let's put a tiny bit of spots on a bush also on the left side, and remember moment about acrylic. When it's drying, white spots can look lighter, dark spots can look darker a little bit. So later we will check it and we can correct this moment. I already added on my palette new color, which is carmine, called tone red, let's say. And also, if you have no carmine, it can be Madeleine red. Depends what you have in your acrylic kit. I put it tiny spots, tiny brush strokes as small leaves. But basically, if you saw, if you saw sakura, for example, it's a blooming plum tree in Japan. Way they blooming those trees, they have no green leaves at all. If it's apple tree, yes, apple tree can have leaves and flowers same time on the tree. So it depends what kind of tree you really wanna create. I like to paint local trees. We have no sakura here in St. Petersburg because the area here too cold, but we have some of those trees in a botanical garden. There we have a special area, and people there caring lots about those sakura, so we able to see how blooming going there in April. In Japan, as I know, time for sakura can be different, can be in March, can be in April, depends from the temperature of air. So where to start? I also added a tiny amount of another red shade, which is vermilion. It's a warm tone red and also fresh white. Type of the brush, it's a round shape natural Bristol brush, so we're gonna print again. And look, now it's looking like a tiny cat with a really small legs, with a small leaving small footprints, was running around, isn't it? So that's mean I have just stamps from my brush. I'm not creating any of strokes, means long strokes. Color right now, it's something middle, because from the start we have to plan crown, shape of crown, some volumes in a crown. We have to think about it, but thinking process for artists mean we're also creating some starting shapes that we will detail later more and more. Same you can see on a tutorial of artist, on a tutorial of Kevin Hill. He also creating just a feeling, just a tiny bit of pink clouds on twigs on a tree. So later he also starting to detail it, but brushes it's different, because number of brush, size of brush depends from the size of your working surface. Also, it's extremely important for painting created with palette knives, because palette knife is a kind of big tool, even mini. I mean, we have different shapes of palette knives. Can be drop shape, can be square shape, can be calling fish shape. Here, at least as I know, exact translation calling fish, but they are not really small. That's mean if tool not small, it's nice for big sizes. If we will try to create same composition as we have on a picture, and it was done with the palette knives, we have to think twice about size. It's not possible to do on a small, for example, A4 paintings. Yes, we can try to imitate, but if we really wanna learn technique through the process, that's mean we have to use something similar. So at least if you know tool is big and it can't be smaller, you have to get bigger size. This is interesting moments we have to remember when we're following tutorials. Okay, I created main shape and you already can feel heart shape here. I didn't want it to create really regular shape, means symmetrical one. I wanted to, you know, from the start I planned to mix natural shape of a tree and shape of the heart. So here I have, like, you know, two trees in one and shape close to the heart. It depends, again, it depends on your taste. If you want a more visible shape of the heart, means you have to create more solid shape without big spots, big visible spots of sky behind it. If you want just a common, slightly visible shape of the heart, so yes, this way you can leave really big areas inside of the tree with visible sky behind. First, I went from the deepest tone. It can't be too dark here as well. So it was a mix of vermilion, carmine and white, but tone of a mix was kinda dark. Next, I added more white, and with the middle tone shade, I'm creating, detailing lights areas. No any long brush strokes, we just, you know, printing, with stamping, with touching, tap, 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 tap. Imagine it's really like smallest cat's lap and cat just running in area of this tree, mostly of course on the light side. So no long brush strokes. We want to create fluffy blooming tree, even if it's not possible to create single petals one by one because of size so small, but we still can create a feeling of it through the brush work. For big patches of light, imagine like light playing on the petals, I choose a bigger brush. I mean, it's not a small one, not a 00, it's a brush number 1, not the smallest I have, because I like print, I like a brush stroke from the tip of this brush. It's very round, and this type of brush can handle good amount of acrylic, means each brush stroke have a good coverage. Good coverage with white, combination of these two moments, giving us contrasted spots on a crown, on top of a crown. So imagine the lightest areas on a crown and put there, you know, like good amount of well visible white spots. It's clear white, almost no red in it. And this way, hard getting value. Fluffy, lots of flowers right now. Sometimes we can cross trunks and twigs. Sometimes we have to leave trunk as a visible, because still it's not a summer. When we have a summer, yes, leaves can cover, crown can close twigs inside of the crown completely. In spring, you know, it's like a pink lace, very light, half transparent lace on top of the twigs. So some of them staying visible for us, and even more. If you want to create fluffy, really flowers that covering tree well, you can leave a tree like this. But if you want to get more spring, more early spring look, we have to double lines on top of the flowers, on top of the pink crown. We created value, right, fine, but now we have to get back those lines of trunk and small twigs. So, see, I'm painting lines of branches and twigs on top. If you will take a look around in a park in the springtime, you will notice, if you can see a lots of twigs and branches on a tree, you think it's really early spring. Less leaves or flowers, more black lines, more dark lines, those tiny twigs and branches. If you see less dark lines, means crown already grow up a lot, it's covering tree better, so it's a late spring. Same with the blooming trees. If you want to create gentle, lightweight one, go for this look. Branches and twigs on top of the crown, not everywhere, time by time. It's have a small distances, right, between, but still lines so visible. If you wanna create more heavy, bloomy tree and you want to create more visible shape of the heart, please skip this step. Don't paint twigs and trunks on top of the shape of crown. Just leave as we created 5 minutes before. Again, as creator of tutorial, my goal is to demonstrate you different ways how to create effects or landscape or details. I can give you different ways, different techniques, and it's up to you what you're taking from the tutorial. So it's also important moment. You are the master of your own painting. You're taking those information from tutorial you like, you wanna repeat, and you're just skipping those you don't. I will, as soon as I already started, I will draw those tiny lines on top. So see, feeling is different right now. Tree looking as a half transparent. Let me complete some lines also here. But I really like well visible shape of heart. Maybe, I'm thinking about those area in the middle of a tree. It's like on the bottom of the heart. There is a really big distance, really big area inside of the crown with a visible mountains behind it. Maybe later I will cover it. Maybe later I will complete shape of the heart and I will create it as a more visible one. Same with the green crowns, same moment. If you want to create more lightweight look for crowns, for green crowns, you have to go with dark lines with twigs on top of a green crowns. Okay, let's go further. We have to give value, light and shadows to trunk also. So we have light from the left side. I mixed ochre light, burnt umber and a white, and I'm going on the left side, following edge there. Type of brush here, it's acrylic one because it's have a nice pointy end that giving me nice control of lines, of long brush strokes there. And let's just add light from the left. On a tiny twigs, yes, there we can skip light on it, but on all big lines and heavy trunk, yeah, we have to add light patches on it. Consistency, not watery again. I have to remind you about this moment of all the time because it's kind important. And also it's important because we painting on a paper taking water inside, and we have to remember about it when we will remove tape that fixing my paper on a table. Yes, I'm painting not on a an easel when I'm making video tutorials, but also you have to remember it's really nice to paint on easel because it's different angle of view on your painting. When you're sitting and easel in front of you, you can understand, you can see your painting better. All areas have a same distance between your eyes and a canvas, so you can control light, amount of detailing, color, everything better on easel. Small size paintings, as we have right now, A4, and smaller, I mean 2020, maybe some other small sizes, possible to paint on a table, but as soon as you're taking bigger size, A3 or bigger, you have to think about easel. It's so much help from it, and it's also better for your neck and shoulders. Remember about it. And by the way, we're already painting for more than 1 hour even. That's mean our eyes, our mind and hands getting tired a little bit. So please check if you're getting tired. Possible to get short break as soon as you need to. I'd recommend to take it before we started to paint a pink tree. But this small painting, this kind, not big size, you know, simple material, acrylic kind of simple paintings to work with. It's usually taking from me 1.5 hours. So I'm not planning any breaks for myself. As I know myself again, if painting taking, in my view, more than 2 hours, I'm planning breaks. If less, I don't really need to. Only family needs some of my attention. Today I can create this painting in one go, and I'm really in a mood for spring landscapes, even if winter still here, and you know, we have so much snow on the street right now and it's kind of cold, but still it's not giving me inspiration. I have no mood for winter. Somehow I have no mood for winter landscapes and paintings already. Maybe I waste all my experience on Christmas holidays. Can be like this. I created enough paintings, was really happy on them, and now I want to create blooming landscapes, some beautiful roses maybe, or other flowers. Remember, not lose control, you know, control dark spots on your crown. Don't cover crown with the light spots completely. Light spots, light petals on the left side, on the right side we have to keep tree in a shadow. Not too dark, but still it's a kind of dark shade. If you feel like you're losing volume, first stand up and take a look from the distance. If you still feel like you lost a little bit of shadows, it's possible to mix shadow color again. Go back to mix of carmine and vermilion, and with this shade paint shadows again, return shadow areas again. If you feel like you need deepest color than just a mix of vermilion and carmine, beautifully mixing with burnt umber. Don't go for mix of black and carmine, it's really looking not nice. If you feel like you have to go for deep color in a crown, for dark blooming color, it can be Sometimes sakura can be light pink. Some kind of those trees have a really deep tone, so in the shadows possible to mix burnt umber, so brown color basically, right, and carmine, so cold tone. And I'm going not everywhere again. I'm recommending to you to check from the distance, but for me, just, wanna let you know, I'm doing the same. I have to stand up a little bit, go back and check if it's looking good, if I still have volume. When we looking close on our paintings, we easily can understand details, but we can easily also, same time, we can easily lose feel of values on the paintings. Common details well visible from the distance, and small tiny details visible on a short distance. Right, it's looking well enough in my eyes. I also added a little bit of random white spots, and look, I really handle my brush close to bristle, so it's giving better control. I can control exact place where I can put spot, and also that's mean I can squeeze bristle a little bit, so print will be not so wide, will be smaller, so you can control area, you can control spot. From one brush you can get big prints or smaller prints. Also, for better, more balanced look, I will create same detail as original painting have. It's a small tree on the right side of landscape with the same crown color, light pink, but this time I will go for more vermilion in a mix. Yes, I want to create pink tree also, but it doesn't mean I have to repeat color exactly. It can look too boring. So this time I will go for more warm red, and also please don't detail on the same quality as we already did for bigger tree. Detail it much less, other way this second pink tree, even if it's a small, it will take way too much attention from our viewer because of the color. So yes, less detailing, just slightly touching, a little bit of light spots, and that's it. All your time, all your passion, please spend on a big heart in the center. Right now, basically, I added all elements that I can see on original art, and important moment about small details also. Here we can see on a painting of Kevin Hill, we can see a fence on the right side, but I will skip this part as not important to me. So when we repeating bigger sizes, paintings on a smaller size, yes, we skipping some of small details, because again it can look too glossy. For me it's a fence and I will not paint it at all. Here on the right side I already have beautiful looking green plants, and I'm happy with it. I don't want to touch this area anymore. I run out of color again, added a little bit more, and let me spot more contrasted petals in a crown. Cold tone looking beautiful also here. And just a tiny bit. Also, another technique I'm gonna use here. It's a technique when we can create really tiny dots and spots with a fan brush or other type of brushes. Personally, I prefer fan brush because it's giving really accurate round shaped spots and small dots. All we have to remember about it is we have to add a little more amount of water than we used before, and we don't need to try to shake off all paint from the brush. Look, I'm really accurate right now. I'm knocking on my left hand with the pole of the brush, really gentle. If we will try too hard, we will knock too hard, we'll get not just an accurate spots and dots, we'll get spots shaped as little stripes, which is we don't need because we're trying to create flying tiny petals. I'm using two shades right now. First, it's a mix of vermilion. Also, it's a bit of carmine and white, and another one will be just white. This technique with a fan brush giving really tiny spots and dots, and more water you will add into mix of acrylic, more bigger dots you'll get. I used not that much water, so you can see right now spots really tiny. I prefer, to add separate single really well visible petals, bigger sized, with just a normal brush, because it's giving me more control. I can add those petals with white or light pink exactly at places where I need to, I want to. Of course, petals looking more attractive when they have contrasted background behind. So if you also, as I do right now, if you're adding one by one those petals, if petals floating into the air, put light spots on a dark background and dark spots, purple spots, dark pink spots on a light background on a sky, for example. On a road, we're going opposite way. If the road where you want to put petals, if road light, like ochre, light brown, please choose light color of petals. And if you want to put petals on a shadow on a road, you need to pick up dark shadow of petals. For example, just a carmine or carmine plus umber, because if you will go same as we used for the air area, you will ruin shape of the road and shape of shadows on the road. So this is important moment. See, I trying not to put too contrasted petals on the road, but I really like to keep contrast in the air on the left side, where I have green hills behind dots, behind tiny petals floating into the air. At least a little bit, if petals floating means some of them already can be visible on a road. Down there. That's it. Oh, on a contrasted area, it's looking really nice. Here I just fixed petal that was looking just as line. I told you those issue. If you will knocking with your brush too hard, those areas will be everywhere. Those tiny lines. Right now, you know, from the side it's looking as a little dense right now. I'm stepping back a little bit, like one step back, checking from the distance, and I'm trying to see main volume shape of a heart from the bigger distance, as usually I have when I'm painting on a table. So I'm trying to check if shape is good, if light is correct as I want to. Also, I told you about bottom part of the heart. Here it's possible to complete, but it's up to you. If you want to keep more natural shape of the painting, probably you will decide not to complete shape heart, but if you want to go for full heart, completed shape, it's also possible to do. I will do it a little bit later, and again, it's up to you. You can stop right now, or you can complete heart shape also with me. But before look, we already created really good contrast on the central tree. So now we have to lift up contrast on other trees as well. Means we have to correct a little bit contrast on all objects. Let's say trees. Right here it's a trees on the foreground. We have to keep similar contrast, maybe not that good as in the center because it's the most catchy area, but also light we have to add a little bit to get the similar look to the central trees. About color, I really don't want to bring here lots of yellow because it will give us not the feeling of spring but the feeling of warm summer sun. If we going for spring mood, colors here have to be really gentle. So I choose lots of white but a tiny bit of green medium, and this color in my opinion giving us a feeling of fresh cold spring wind and air, and tiny leaves shining. Look, really nice color here. We had no any yellow before, so it's could be the wrong idea to add more yellow on a light on the trees. Right now I have to wait a little bit for green trees because I also want to put twigs, tiny twigs and branches on top of the green leaves. I told you, and we used the same way. We created visible tiny dark lines, dark twigs on a pink tree, and for more airy, for lightweight trees we have to put branches on top, not everywhere, right, but to create it more visible. So let me wait a little bit, maybe, you know, 2-3 minutes. I will maybe create, while I'm waiting, create some tiny corrections on the road, maybe some light spots, but basically here I'm already happy with a result. Pretty road with petals. Yeah, I think right now leaves already like half dry, so it's possible to create really thin, good looking, accurate lines on top of the green leaves. Very tiny lines, they are not too dark. It's not just a mix of black and brown, it also can contain a little bit of green and white, also cause tiny fresh twigs in a spring can have also a green color. So old twigs from the last year, they usually have a brown color, but new ones on very ends of the twigs can be still green. So it's up to you also. You wanna go for more visible branches, use darker shade. If you wanna more lightweight effect on the trees, on a crown, you can create also dark green or light green twigs on top. Same I do on a bush on the left side. Not everywhere, and again those lines have to be distances between. It's like twigs visible through really fresh and young green leaves. Line brush perfect for this kind of work. I will cover a little bit some of tiny twigs, but just, you know, just a tiny bit, because I want to keep them truly visible. Enough, I think it's enough. Let's repeat same on a small pink tree. A little bit of visible branches and twigs, and I will put my sign up. Here sign will be, you know, on a good spot for it, contrasted, but I like color also, and I will put a little heart as soon as it's a landscape for St. Valentine's Day. And I told you, for those of you who want to create completed shape of the heart, we can just close this shape and we can paint it more visible. For those of you who want to go for more natural view of tree, shape of tree, you can keep this tree, you can stop on the previous stage. See, right now shape are way more visible. So our tutorial today was based on painting of Karen Hill, and it's possible to watch demonstration video of original art, and we talk today lots about tips that can help us to get really pretty result in the end, and also about moments important to remember when we're choosing materials, techniques, all those that important for our painting. As soon as today we used paper before removing of tape that fixing our paper on a table, please be sure you're really drying paper well, because those wetness, those water can be in the middle of paper. So really you can use hairdryer same as I do, or you can just leave your painting for an hour or two and remove tape later. For removing hot air, just excellent. So you can remove tape without any paper throwing. Let me take a look, just a final look on my painting right now. Romantic landscape with a fresh spring mood and cold light. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you still have any questions, feel free to ask me here under the video on the comments. Also, about materials I used, you can find information in a description box, same as the links, and also I will create sketch for those of you who prefer to transfer some sketch lines before painting. It can be also handy. Please share to me your paintings through Patreon, Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget #PaintyKat. I wish you really romantical mood on this St. Valentine Day in this year. And it was a PaintyKat. Bye bye.